What's up, Guardians? Haterade here, and today we dive into an explosive Arc Titan build that will have you clearing waves of enemies and doing what Titans do best, punching everything in sight. On top of that, we're going to pair it with what I'd wager to say is the least used Titan exotic and find a way to make it viable and fun to use. Don't think that's possible? Well, then let's get right to it. First and foremost, we have to have a talk about our dear Striker Titans and how abysmally awful they've been pretty much always in PvE. Not including you Thunder Crash Titans, you can keep being one of the best DPSers in the game. Now, I'm talking about bottom and top tree Striker subclass trees. They just haven't really been able to break into endgame PvE scene and have always been overshadowed by Sentinels and Hammer Bros alike. But with Arc 3.0 looming on the horizon, we can hope for a revamped Striker that combines the best of all three subclass trees and offers us a powerhouse of a Titan. We'll talk later about how a potential build shift thanks to Arc 3.0 can further embolden this build and many other Arc builds for the Titan, but for now, let's jump right into our Season 16 build. Currently, the Striker Titan has the soon-to-be obsolete three subclass trees, each with their own strengths. Though there are three options currently, we're going to bypass the top and middle trees and focus on the bottom tree Striker, Code of the Juggernaut. This tree focuses heavily on your charged melee ability, Frontal Assault, which, when used to strike an enemy, reloads your weapon and gives you increased stability and a 20% buff to weapon damage for 12 seconds. Kills with your charged melee will trigger health regeneration thanks to the perk Reversal. As for the super itself, you want to use it primarily for ad clear. With the perk Trample, you'll extend its duration for each enemy you defeat with its light attack. At the end of the day, though, you're not going to be using your super abilities energy to cast. Instead, you'll be siphoning it off into your abilities. But first, let's take a look at the exotic that's going to be getting its 15 minutes of fame today. Put on your spinfoil hat, because this is about to get weird. Now, before unveiling our exotic of choice for today's build, I need you to close your eyes, take a deep breath, and imagine the worst exotic armor piece for the Titan. I'm talking something that is an instant shard, get that thing out of here, literal dumpster fire of a piece of armor. Settled on one yet? I'd wager to say you probably picked the exotic chest piece, Severance Enclosure. When this exotic released, it had so many of us scratching our heads and wondering why on earth would this even be a thing. With its intrinsic perk, Spiromatic Trigger, powered melee final blows unleashed a damaging explosion. Finishers and final blows against more powerful targets increase the radius and damage of this explosion. Now, at first, this may seem like a very underwhelming exotic perk, but with the right setup, this can become both an ad clearing machine and a powerful melee focused build. How are we going to do that? Let's go over the mod breakdown that gives this build life. First things first, let's look at our charged melee and how we're going to keep this up almost the entire time, allowing you to constantly heal, create elemental wells, and charge your super. Once you've used your charged melee, you'll be looking to the class item mod 1-2 Finisher, which allows you to fully replenish your charged melee upon using a finisher on enemy at the cost of 1/6 of your super. While doing so, you'll create 2 Arc Elemental Wells thanks to the mod Overcharged Wellmaker. Remember that perk on the Severance Enclosure? Well, it's going to proc here and do damage around you while you create Elemental Wells. What's the purpose of the Arc Elemental Wells created from your finisher? Here's where Well of Ions comes into play. Upon picking up an Arc Elemental Well, you receive a 30% damage buff for your next powered or normal melee that has a 10-second time to use before it expires. On top of that, if you're running any activities with champions or Hive Guardians, you can slot the seasonal mod Loosen Finisher to generate heavy as you finish them while also clearing out any enemies around them. That covers the explosions for the build, but what about the chain lightning that pairs with the Arc Affinity for this build? Taking an even deeper dive into Arc mods and reaching deep into our mod toolkit, we're going to slap on some mods you've probably never used and may not even know existed. I'm talking about Arc Warmind Cell mods. Yes, you heard me correctly, Arc Warmind Cell mods. The red-headed stepchildren of the Warmind Cell family are here to shock the world and play into this setup. There are 3 mods in total we'll be talking about here. The first is the staple of any Warmind Cell build, Global Reach, which extends the effect of your Warmind cells from 6 meters to 10 meters. Now you might ask, what's going to extend out to 10 meters with these Warmind cells? Lightning. With the mod Modular Lightning, whenever you collect, aka slide or walk into a Warmind cell, you'll create a field of chain lightning similar to the effect from the Doom Marcher's exotic armor, essentially giving you a second area of effect ability alongside the explosion from Severance Enclosure. Rounding out the trio of Warmind Cell mods is Sheltering Energy, which gives you an overshield that lasts for a whopping 20 seconds or until it's stripped off from incoming damage. Now, clearly the latter half of this build relies on the ability to create Warmind cells, so now we'll go over the 2 different methods in which you can do so. The first is using any Ikelos or 7 Seraph weapons that allow for the creation of Warmind cells when defeating enemies, the stronger enemies producing Warmind cells more often. One of my favorite combos is using the Witherhoard exotic grenade launcher with an Ikelos SMG or hand cannon. You can drop your Witherhoard shot in a group of enemies, then swap to any Ikelos or 7 Seraph weapon. This tricks the game into thinking that Witherhoard is essentially defeating enemies as a Warmind cell weapon and can create cells. However, if you're new to the game or don't have any of these Warmind cell creating weapons in your vault, there's still hope. The Solar Warmind Cell mod Wrath of Rasputin allows you to create Warmind cells with solar splash damage. I covered this in a previous video for my solar build, the Wellmind, but the same principle applies here. You can use something like the new seasonal grenade launcher, Explosive Personality, the new exotic grenade launcher, Dead Messenger, or even Sunshot, the exotic hand cannon. There are several weapon options when going this route. These are just the ones that I would recommend. The future of this and many other ARC builds is up in the air, however, as ARC 3.0 gets closer, with the potential for it to join the fray in Season 17. If that's the case, then we'll see a mix-up of all three of the Striker's abilities and supers, making something like this even more viable if able to pair with things like Thunder Crash, Inertia Override, and the different melee abilities like Seismic Strike and Ballistic Slam. It's really exciting to think just how potent the Striker will become once the possibility of combining some of these abilities is here. On top of that, I would wager we could see some ARC-focused seasonal mods like the fan favorite of old, Thunder Coil, make a comeback, allowing for the fists of the Striker Titan to become even more deadly. At the end of the day, Strikers are lost amongst the myriad of Void and Solar Titans in the current sandbox. This build is an attempt to create a fun and useful Arc Titan setup. I've used it a lot in general purpose play and some Legend and Master Lost sectors, but I think that about extends its use. All in all, it's a tremendously fun build to toy around with, and at the end of the day, that's what it's all about, right? Don't be afraid to shake things up and try out a new build, a new exotic, or even a new set of mods, whether that be Elemental Well or Warmind Cell focused. Oftentimes I feel like we as Destiny players can lose sight of the incredibly varied and powerful tools we have at our disposal. That's enough of that though. I'll get off my soapbox and bring things to a close. With that comes the conclusion to today's video. I hope you enjoyed this build breakdown and learned something out of it. As always, I'll have the link to the dim loadout in the description if you want to take a look at everything laid out in front of you. If you enjoyed this video or found it at all helpful, then a like is greatly appreciated. Subscribe for more Destiny 2 content, and feel free to check out this build and many more live over on Twitch at twitch.tv/haterade. I stream 3 to 4 days a week and would love to have you swing by and check out the channel. That's it. I'm done. I'm out. I'll see you all in the next one.